Here we go. People start popping in. Okay, so welcome to the first InternNE webinar, InternNE powered by Aksarben webinar. I'll get better at that. I'm Shauna Dorsey, and I was saying this is Shauna Dorsey because I'm so used to recording a podcast. I don't know why I have to explain everything. I just do that all the time. Like, why am I saying the things I'm saying? But anyway, thanks for everyone for being here. We're excited to kick off this series, and thank you to Michaela for agreeing to co-host this with me. I work at the Aksarben Foundation. I lead InternNE powered by Aksarben, and also the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, and just love anything that we can do to support talent, as I know Angie Stenger does as well, and she'll talk about that in a bit. Before we keep going, Michaela, would you like to introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there?
Absolutely. I'm Michaela Samdi. I'm the Academy Experiences Liaison here at Grand Island Senior High. I kind of found a love for work-based learning and internships when I was the vice president at the chamber. I focused on workforce development, and I noticed that there was a pretty good gap between business and industry and education. And I always thought if we could start bringing that closer together by connecting kids to different work-based learning opportunities, what better way? And I got the opportunity to do that. So that's what I'm doing now here at Senior High.
Thank you. And Angie, will you please introduce yourself?
I will. I am Angie Stenger, and I'm the Executive Director for Growing Together Northeast Nebraska, which is originally an Aksarben initiative that was created about 4 or 5 years ago as Aksarben was looking to roll out and do more work across the state. Mike Flood is on the Aksarben board, and they worked with him on finding what were the things that Northeast Nebraska needed. And obviously, that brain drain, the term we all hate, or the lack of talent, was a big one. And so they put together an initiative to try to address that. And I am the juggler that gets to play with everyone to try to make all the initiative pieces work together. I sometimes call myself the workforce matchmaker because we're trying to bring the businesses and the students together and keep them all here.
Excellent. So before we get into those questions that we have, just want to share with the attendees here that our plan is to do about 15 minutes of Q&A with Angie, and then we'll open it up for you all to ask questions of any of us. And that's about it. Also, these sessions will be recorded, as you can see here, and available for review and sharing later on. So with that, I'll flip it over to Michaela to kick off our Q&A.
All right. Well, Angie, can you provide us an overview of the Wayne State College program, the objectives of bridging the gap between education and industry?
Yeah, so as we said, this started about 4 years ago. Our first cohort started in COVID in August of 2020, and it was built around this idea of being career scholars, and that the students are going to go to school for 3 years at Wayne State and get a scholarship each year. The original numbers were that they would get $2,500 their first year. I was looking for my numbers. $3,000 their second, $3,500 their junior year, and then $5,000 for tuition on their senior year, plus all of their housing covered. Well, they just announced this week that they have received a donation. So those numbers now double for the students that are starting in the fall, which is pretty exciting. But so they will go to school their first 3 years in Wayne. And during that time, we're doing events with them in Norfolk. If you're not familiar with Norfolk and Wayne, we're 35 miles apart. Norfolk doesn't have a 4-year college. We have a great 2-year Northeast Community College. But when we were talking about increasing 4-year degrees and careers, we knew that we wanted to work with Wayne State in that realm. So the students go to school 3 years. They are focused on either communications, business, which includes finance, HR, etc., and as well as IT, because we're trying to upskill. We're trying to make sure that we have a high skill workforce. And then their senior year, they are living in downtown Norfolk and in brand new housing that has been built for them, and then working or interning full-time their whole senior year in a business in the area. So the intention there is hopefully they will be offered a job, or at least they will have connected here in Norfolk And I have one young gentleman. So this is the very first year that we have students in Norfolk. We're in year 4. And we have one gentleman who he has gotten engaged, plans to go back home, which is still a community here in Northeast Nebraska. So I like to tell him he's our poster child because he has going to school, has a great job. In fact, he was very intentional in picking where he was going to work in case it turned into full-time because it's closer to where he lives. And so that's the goal. We have 28 students right now in the program in Norfolk, and coming next year, there will be 40. So we're working on placing 40 students right now for an August internship. And then every year after that, 75 students. We've also expanded it a little because we saw the need from our businesses. And so there was some industrial technology. There's been some construction management added, project management and safety, as well as now criminal justice. And the conversation is being added about the pre-law, some of the RLOP kids that are at Wayne State, that some of our attorneys are like, well, we could use that too. And again, it's if we can find what our businesses need and what our students want to do and give them that opportunity here in Nebraska, our goal is to keep them here in Nebraska.
That's outstanding. And so obviously through this partnership with Wayne State, you've worked with a lot of business you are working with a lot of businesses. So can you talk to us about some strategies employers can use to create a successful internship program, and also like why they should even consider an internship program?
Well, we're trying to create that pipeline. We keep hearing from employers that we need the workforce. We know the numbers that we've heard from the state chamber. We've heard it, we see them in our census data, that if we're going to keep these young people, we need to have the opportunities for them. Well, we have businesses saying, well, we have the opportunities. Well, then let's figure out how to connect them. And so one of the things that we've done is that we start the freshman year, we're bringing the students to Norfolk, and they are doing scavenger hunts and socials with employers and businesses. They are doing micro internships all of their first 3 years, trying to figure out what is it that I want to do so that their senior year, their internship is somewhere that potentially could lead to a full-time. And so we invite businesses to be a part of that. We've invited businesses to say, yeah, you know what, we have this problem. Could we put a case study together and let the students work on it? So that's one more thing, like just honestly being involved has been such a great thing. I've got some businesses that are like, no, wait, we want first pick. We'd like to be there to get to know these students so that we know who we're going to hire. I have another one who said, how do I know I get the best? Can I make sure? And so I'm like, yes, you can, because you need to get to know them. And so that's what has been a great thing of some of those businesses. Now, others are just coming around and like, oh, I didn't realize I could have been in. And so that's what we're recommending to businesses. Actually be there, post your jobs on Intern Nebraska or at the local career centers, making sure that, and not just your jobs, but your internships, because we're training the kids to go look at their internships and see what's going to be available. And so I know, looking at the Intern Nebraska grants that were just given out, I'm excited that I have some new businesses. They're like, we got to thinking about this. We need to get some internships. I'm like, great, let us help you.
Awesome. So tell me, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced by the interns themselves during their internship experience? And what is business and industry doing to help the students develop in the light of these challenges?
Well, it's different in every career field, but also in every business, because some of the challenges are, well, one of them, I have a business that their marketing interns started on Tuesday, and 2 weeks later, their marketing coordinator quit. And so those become the challenges that some of our students are really getting thrown into full-time positions. And so that location worked really hard to make sure that our intern was still enveloped by the rest of the staff, not just in marketing. And so she's learning business things, but she really has been given elevated experience because she was kind of taking over a lot of the marketing now. But they have done a great job. Businesses have done a great job of making sure that, well, we want her to stay here. We want her to be a part of our business, and encouraging them out. Now, the interesting thing, just last week, the young professionals group here in town called Connect had an event on Friday afternoon. And I was one of the presenters, and I was so excited because 3 of our interns were there. So that meant their businesses, and all 3 were different businesses. All 3 of their businesses had said, we want you to connect. And so they sent them on a Friday afternoon they would have been being paid. It was their hours. And I think that's just a great thing for businesses. That's what we're encouraging all of our employees to do. So let's make sure we're encouraging our interns to be just as much a part of that and part of the community. I've seen our interns ringing bells for Salvation Army at Christmas time, volunteering at the community events, the Oktoberfest last fall. Those are the things that are making them be a part of our community. And so I applaud the businesses that we've had involved, and I'm excited to get more. This is an experiment. This type of thing is not happening anywhere else in the country. You hear about like this type of co-op internship in engineering and in a lot of the sciences. The careers of it doesn't happen anywhere else. This is a first. And so we are putting these students into full co-op internships for 2 full semesters. And we're going to have our first ones graduate. It's like our children are finally graduating in May. So it's been great, but it's also been something that our businesses have had to learn. Like, all right, how do we bring them in just like a new employee?
Mm-hmm. I really like that peer networking aspect as well. So like getting those students together who work for different companies together. I think that's really great, and something that we'll be building upon and partnering with you for sure on through Intern Nebraska. So let's talk a little bit about mentorship and your thoughts about the role that it plays in an internship. So effective like mentorship, supervision, et cetera.
Well, it is something that a business really has to commit somebody. And I don't want to say it's going to be a full time, because I know for those who haven't had internships before, that can be intimidating. Like, oh, I don't have anybody that I can give to that person. Well, you're not going to carry them through every hour of their week, but we do need somebody to be your point person. Somebody that when that student goes, hey, I just am not connecting on this, or I don't understand this, or where's the bathroom, or can I have the coffee, or is that only for full time? Those type of things. You do need that that point person within the place. It's great when the entire organization brings them in, but that mentorship is honestly leading them through being a successful member of their business, being a successful member of their community, and showing them how that happens. And so I think the word mentorship sometimes can be intimidating, because of like, oh man, that's going to take me away from my job. Well, no, not if you're doing it right. It's just like if we'd hire a new employee. Think of it that way, that this is going to grow our business. And to do that, we need to make sure that they know everything about our company too. I have one guy who said, so basically I'm test driving a new employee for 9 months. I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, that's great. There's a lot of times we hire somebody in a business and they're like, oh, after 90 days, that didn't work. Well, how great is this that after, even almost a year, you can say, I'm going to keep these, or I don't think this is where I want to go.
I love that you touched on them just asking simple questions like, even can they have the coffee? Because I think that employers don't think about that. They're young and they don't know. I have high school level. So I've had multiple times they've said to me, I asked a question and they didn't get upset with me. Mm-hmm. Well, we as adults don't think that would be an issue. They're that young. They're scared of it. So I love that you touched on that. I think that's a great point. So what are some of the key skills and experiences that the interns can bring to the workplace?
Well, one thing that Wayne State has done a great job on, and I think I probably hadn't thought it through, but that's why I'm not in the education side, is those NACE competencies, those working through team building, working through a lot of the community involvement and service, and just being a professional person. Come with being inquisitive, come with being ready to work, but don't come with the theory of this is just a class. And so you've learned everything. Just know now's the time you're going to actually get to put it to use, because we know how school can be, that you've learned those things in the realm of this is what the book says. Well, now let's figure out how we can put those together and make that work. And so I think a lot of the professional skills and some people call those soft skills. I have one of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Leah Barrett at Northeast here in town. She goes, I call those power skills, because those are that professionalism, that timeliness, all of those things that are the quote unquote soft skills are truly, if you have those mastered, you're going to have more power in your position. And so a student knowing, coming in and having the look, and I'm not saying buying 3-piece suits to work at an agribusiness. I'm saying coming in and looking like you're set for the skills that you are there to work.
Power skills. I think, I don't know, we're going to shift this. I love that. Yeah, I've heard 21st century skills. I think power skills better.
Yeah.
So we're at the last question here. So final thoughts from you, and then we'll open it up for Q&A from the folks here on the call.
Well, I do think it has just been a fabulous opportunity here in the Norfolk area. And as we keep growing it, businesses are scrambling to be a part of it. And so we're getting our world down on how we're going to place these students. But what we want is the opportunity for businesses to really have a pipeline. Our internships are paid. I think that's one thing we haven't talked about. And I think all internships should be paid, because this is an employee. Now, yes, they're an employee. They shouldn't be replacing, or, we don't want you to pay them less. And so that's one thing in the Wayne State program. We very much want it to be minimum of $15 an hour. And if it's more competitive in something that else within your organization, pay that. But we want it to be that these are your pipeline, that you are test driving these students so that we can continue to fill our situation, fill our workforce. We know the numbers. We're going to have to find other ways to bring people into our state, but if we can continue to connect them. One other thing that just in the intern world that we do here in the Norfolk area, every June, not necessarily our Growing Together interns, but we do an event for all interns at any of our businesses. So a lot of those come from out of state. Last year, we had some Gonzaga students here in Norfolk interning. We had Nucor and Norfolk Iron and Metal bring in a lot, our banks, the hospital. So that's something a community can do. We do an event that says, hey, welcome to Norfolk for the summer. Here's the events going on. Here's some food. You all can get to know each other on that hope that they can connect. And again, either want to come back to intern here or maybe want to come back and work here, because we know we're going to need to bring people in from out of state. And so let's figure out how to do that.
Awesome. Well, we're going to open this up for questions. So you can either drop them in the Q&A, or I think I can make attendees able to speak or something. I'm learning the tool here, y'all. Yeah, so far no questions in the chat, but I'm going to just turn this allow to talk on, and you can keep yourself off video if you want. But yeah, just go ahead and ask questions if you have them. Let's see, I think I have everybody now. There we go. And if no questions, that's also okay, but we're here to help out.
Michaela, I have a question for you. Do you do high school internships? Do your students in the academies go out?
Yeah, so I'm in year 3, and when I got here and I kind of learned a little bit more about the pathways, I just started going out and connecting with the businesses. I will tell you, at the high school level, it was a little concerning, but I brought them into the classroom so that they could see and learn what the students were learning. Olson Engineering was one of the first that took us on, and I thought they would give us maybe an opportunity for one student. They actually gave us an opportunity for 3 students in 3 different areas. And last year was year 1, we're in year 2, and they were truly blown away by it. He said that he expected that they would come in and kind of just they would have to babysit them a little, and they realized that they came in and they were able to do real work. So they gave those students, maybe it was the entry level as they were learning AutoCAD or whatever it may be, which allowed their other engineers to go on to some of the bigger projects. And then they would pair them together with more veteran engineers as well to work on projects so they could see and learn that. They would take them out to sites. It's really been pretty beautiful. I just actually went out earlier this week to visit with those students. So we have it both on the apprenticeship side and the internship side. And I would tell you the only way, the differentiator for us there is our apprenticeship side is we come into some child labor laws issues, right? Because our students are typically, they're going to be under the age of 18, and you can't have students in manufacturing unless you've got that apprenticeship agreement in place. Still work-based learning, it just looks a little, it's just on the apprenticeship side. Internship is maybe it's more computer-based or something in more of an office setting is how we've that's a differentiator that we use.
Okay. So I have one question that just came into the Q&A, and I'll just read it out. Thank you, Connor. It says, when designing an internship, what are the most important features that help with future retention of interns?
Well, I think one of the things that we have seen is a little bit of a rotation, and this will depend on what your business is, but in some of the businesses I've seen them do a rotation. One of the IT ones, it's like if you're doing networking, they're putting them 6 weeks in networking, they're putting them 6 weeks in software, web development, just depending what is offered. But I think that's a great thing, so that I'm a big believer in my businesses that I've been involved in that you should be able to do anything. And I think that's a great way to bring these students in and develop it. Like, I'm going to put you in 6-week rotations so that you get to know everything. We'll see where you shine, and hopefully we can hire you into one of those, or maybe that just makes you a better, well-rounded employee. So I do think that becomes a really great piece to try to show them everything. I also, again, I'm back to the community involvement, showing them why your business is succeeding in your community and putting them out into being a part of it.
Great. Okay. Jim.
Yes, this is a question for Michaela, just kind of off the subject. Is that all right?
Sure.
Yeah.
So you're on the board of Skills USA.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever come across kids that have the smarts, win the competition at their high school, and just don't have the means to make it out to the state competition? If they win the state competition, I mean, it's a chunk of change to go to Atlanta, or have some kids that win the state and that just can't make it to the nationals, that need help getting there. I was there a few times, and place is huge. You walk around, you get lost, you just talk to people. I was talking to some girl from Texas, and she was just there hanging out with her sister, and her sister is sponsoring people. So can we meet sometime? You teach me how to sponsor people and get kids to go to Skills USA. I'm working on something where I could help them out and get there. So that's just off the subject, but that's kind of what I'm here for.
So I would absolutely love to meet with you on that. And yes, we do run, obviously schools, especially at the high school level, are running into, my school included, are running into budget challenges. They don't have a lot of extra funds. And if they don't have a strong enough chapter to get some of that through fundraising and meet their fundraising goals to be able to get there, we certainly do run into that. Skills USA themselves tries to kick in there and help students where they can, but obviously they certainly can't help them all. There's almost 120 different competitions that occur at state. So yeah, it's incredible, both at the state level and the national level. So yeah, I would love to visit.
But have you heard of a story where, oh geez, this team, they won, but they just can't even make it to, is it Grand Island or North Platte? I mean, they can't even make it across the state. But once they win state, then the price, as escalates, because you got to fly everybody to Atlanta. You got to pay for your own hotel rooms. All that stuff is on the kids and on the students. And you can have a fundraiser where you sharpen lawnmower blades or blah, 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 but that just isn't even going to cut it. You know what I mean? And like the teacher would say, the kids have to have skin in the game, understood. But there's got to be underprivileged kids out there that need help getting to these things just because they don't have the means. Just because you have the smarts and you don't have the means doesn't mean you shouldn't be involved.
I 100% agree. I haven't necessarily heard it at the state level per se, but I have definitely heard of it happening them not being able to make it to the national. I mean, if
Which
they
is just,
qualify.
which is a crock. You know what I mean? It's
Oh.
like, right. Okay. That's all I
Right.
had. And thank you very much. I don't even know if I was on because it was late. I was trying to get on it. If you
No,
know,
you're
I
good.
showed
You're
up, I
good,
was
Jim.
completely
And
sweating because I had no idea if I was even on. So thank you for taking my question.
you're good. And it sounds like you and Michaela will connect offline. So that's great, just to kind of explore some other options. So any other questions, folks? And I did drop a link to Skills USA in the chat. It is an incredible program, opportunity for students and et cetera. So,
Thank
okay.
you.
If no other questions, definitely want to remind everyone to either sign up for your business on InternNEB, and I'll drop the link in the chat as well. So you can sign up your business. Definitely, if you have students in programs, have them sign up for to create a student profile, because then they can look for open positions. And I'm not sure if you all saw this report, but we do have, I should say, 95 employers who were awarded for this first round, and over 600 positions throughout Nebraska just in that first grant cycle. However, on the InternNEB platform, all companies, even those who were not awarded, can post their positions. So definitely have your students check it out. But if no further questions, Michaela, Angie, anything else to close us out?
I was just going to let Jim know that I did put my email in the chat as well, so he will have
Perfect.
that.
Thank you. I will drop it in the.
I'm so new at this. I'm sorry. I'm going to.
There you
Got
go,
it.
Jim.
As Soundy. Thank you very much. This is my second Zoom in my whole entire life.
You're good.
My
It's
first
totally
one
fine.
must not have been so good.
You're fine. But yeah, Angie or Michaela, anything else to wrap us up?
Like I said, I think just great connections for businesses. It's in getting the businesses involved early and figuring out a way to connect these students will keep them in our state, because I know that our 28 this year were so excited to get to Norfolk because this was built for them. And so if we can make them feel important and make them want to stay, we have a great state. We just have to tell them what is going on. I mean, I'm in the same situation. I have a 12-year-old who asked if she could do marine biology at Wayne State. I'm like, well, babe, let's find something in Nebraska you can do. We don't have, the zoo, I guess. But I'm like, we don't have a lot of marine biologists in Nebraska. So she's 12.
So great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We will be hosting these monthly. Next month, we'll have a member of the HR team with Olson here to talk with us about effective job description. So how to write one that is appealing to interns. But anyway, we appreciate you all being here, and we'll hopefully see you next month.
Thank you.